Hello and welcome to Superpower Broadcasting. I'm Kevin Castley. Thank you for being here tonight. Tonight, I'm just going to be talking about the idea of the wokeness that's going around and my reaction to it, and basically, the response that we've had in mostly the Twitter community, also a little bit of drama on YouTube with respect to my refusal to get woke, essentially, right? So I've tweeted several times the phrase or the sentence rather, I would rather be right than woke, right? So what does that mean? Well, it means we're in an era right now. I've been calling it the era of cringe the whole time I've been on YouTube. Basically, what we're going to witness, it's already been happening, but it's getting worse. You can check out my interview, or not so much an interview, but just a chat, a discussion I had with my buddy Billy Bond last night. We were talking about the chaos that has ensued in the wake of the incident involving the death of Rayshard Brooks and the absolutely deplorable conviction, or not conviction, but charging of Garrett Rolfe with literally felony manslaughter. We're going to be talking about that too, but literally felony manslaughter. After that happened, of course, the police in Atlanta stood in solidarity with Officer Rolfe. Of course, he was fired, but most all of the police officers didn't show up for their posts, and so literally that well, we got people in the chat. I do just quickly want to address a question in the chat first. This is from Robert Edwin House. He says, why don't you chat on screen anymore? Well, I will be again soon. However, the limitations of having a 5-year laptop that I haven't updated any hardware on are such that filming with a webcam and streaming live exceeds the memory capacity currently. And I've been very busy at work the last 7 days, basically. And so I haven't really had time to get on that. But within the coming days, I am going to be having a new hard drive installed on my laptop, and I'm going to be doubling the RAM on this device. So that should rectify the situation, and we will be back to streaming, as I used to, of course. I have, and we'll get back into the substance of the stream, but I think it's important to go over this because I've talked on occasions before about how I find it just absolute undilute cringe when people will hide behind an avatar, when they will, for example, they'll basically they'll remain anonymous. They'll use their avatar, but they just they'll remain anonymous. They'll talk tough and everything, but they have no identity to back it up. Now, there are conditions, there are circumstances in which that is justifiable. If you're talking about very controversial issues and you're doing it in such a way that compromising your identity it could risk harm to you, your family, etc., that sort of thing. I get it. I understand that. But a lot of the times it's just because people are too spurgy or whatever to reveal their real identity. They don't feel comfortable. Oftentimes, of course, it's due to simple trolling. They don't want to be known with their face associated with their ideas because the ideas they're putting out there, they're just spouting devil's advocacy and shitpostery. And that's not what I'm here to do. Even with an avatar, I of course updated my Twitter avatar too. And some people were saying, what, not comfortable to show your identity anymore? And I'm like, my name is my Twitter handle. Like, my identity's there. I just think the hawk looks cool as hell. So for me, you can use an avatar, but hiding behind the avatar is basically the anonymous thing. I prefer to use my face because I think that it gives more of an air of genuineness to the program. People take you more seriously if they see you with your real face saying things. People are more likely to believe, oh, this person probably believes what he's saying. This isn't just, a shtick. This isn't just, some trolling or some grifting or whatnot. This is a genuine person, that I can listen to. We already got 10 people here. That's cool. Got a few people on Twitch. Good to see. I forgot to upload the links and stuff in the description of the video. I normally will have the links to my Twitch account where you can follow me, as well as the Patreon, all that stuff. But I haven't obviously done that yet. I'll do that after the screen is over. But definitely be sure to check out the Twitch account. We're up to 31 followers, which is good because we gotta get up to 50. We gotta get up to 50 followers so that we can get to affiliate status over on Twitch. And we got Jay actually on Twitch tonight. Big up Jay. I'll send Jay an invite. However, I do have about 20 to 30 minutes of material that I am basically going to say alone here. I have some things to say, and then I'm open to having a conversation if Jay's available. If you're still watching, we can talk for a bit. Can't go too late tonight. I'm pretty busy. I got to be at work tomorrow. But with this whole culture, of course, of the anonymous troll, all these people who I've had this happen before, where I will say something and then somebody will respond on Twitter with just, they screenshotted my profile picture and now they're posting that. I guess to own me, as in like, this is what you look like. And then I look and they have like some stupid anime or manga profile picture, and their @ is like some just random combination of words. It's not their real name. I'm like, dude, chances are you're like 400 pounds. Mum's Hot Pockets, Eric Cartman type figure. And you, what, you're trying to own me by showing me what I look like? I know what I look like. Like, that's not an argument. That's not an argument. Or it's like the thing with the Gripers. Ears. He's got ears, spooky. He's got ears. He must be a Jew. So funny. Yeah. This guy right here, he says, anime profile pictures are the worst. And I would agree with that. Usually, if there's an anime profile picture, they're either going to post some very far left tanky stuff or some very far right reactionary stuff. That's usually what you're going to get. And both of them are going to be, anti-war, end the wars, Bush bad, Jews bad. They of course have a lot in common in that sense. So getting back to the topic of the stream, the wokery, I'll say this. Oh, hello, Natalie. Natalie's here as well. Good to see Natalie coming in. We're getting people here. It's good. I know I had a few did I have hashtags? I can't even remember if I made any sort of hashtags tonight. So that's cool to see people just show up. But yeah, I've been pretty busy today. But I do want to say, though, that this whole effort to cancel me, I know that, for example, there have been many attempts to cancel me, of course, on Twitter especially. It began, back in November, October, with the whole lumping me in as the axis of evil and stuff. But we got Billy Bong here too. That's awesome. And no, I didn't hear about the Atlanta cop stuff, Mom. I didn't hear about that. But I will, I'll speak for about 10, 15 more minutes or so. And then you guys are welcome on the program, to Jay and Billy, if you guys are, have the time to come on. This won't be as long a stream tonight as the one I did with Billy. But, there's a lot to talk about, though. And one of it is that because I put Blue Lives Matter, and because I guess I use the term murder and whatnot, or terms related to the incident that happens, or that happened in Atlanta, the stream that I did with Billy Bong was not appearing for a long time. Like, usually it takes a few hours for a stream to just upload normally before it appears on my timeline, but this one wasn't. And so I had to remove those terms, those tags from the video. And then within an hour, it appeared on my YouTube channel. So maybe it's just coincidental. Maybe it just took extra long to just upload. Or maybe YouTube is trying to get woke, right? And YouTube is already too woke for their own good. Nike's too woke for their own good. I don't know if you saw it, but they had a video out or an advertisement out recently where instead of saying, just do it, they were like, just don't do it. I guess in reference to what? Systemic racism, whatever that's supposed to mean. I mean, it's just, It's just a mess. This was, of course, in the wake of George Floyd's death. And yet we have no proof, no evidence, nothing to indicate that that death was a result of racism. It was excessive force. It was police brutality. Everybody agrees to that. It was disgusting what Derek Chauvin did. But I haven't seen anything to indicate that he was racist, that it was motivated as like, oh, he used excessive force because he hates blacks. No, it seemed like he would have done the same thing if it was a white criminal too, right? But of course, there wouldn't have been this outrage about it because, of course, twice as many whites are killed in confrontations with police where they are shot and killed as blacks are. But you never really hear about those cases. It just shows up as a stat, but you'll never really see the media talk much about it because it doesn't get ratings. But and that's all that they care about are the ratings over in the mainstream media. But you know what does get ratings? You know what gets the people going? Oh, white man kills black man. White cop kills black man. That's what gets the people going. Billy's saying that she got fired from her job. What? See, this is the wokery. This is the guilt by association. And more so than that, he's not even guilty. He's not even guilty. He's not even guilty. But we're at a level now where collective guilt is really a thing. I mean, there is this original sin that's implied. If you're born white, you are by definition guilty. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter how woke you are. Because in 5 years, if you just stayed as woke as these, Black Lives Matter activists, whiteys are today, they're going to see you as super conservative because you didn't go further. You didn't appease even more. And then, of course, the proof, if you're skeptical about my prediction there, if you want to see actual proof that, yeah, if you stay put and you're super woke, but you don't keep up with the wokery, they'll excommunicate you or whatever anyway. They'll cancel you. Check out what happened to Mayor Frey of Minneapolis. He went down to the crowd, the protesters, shortly after the wrongful death happened of George Floyd. And he was there and he went along with basically everything that they were saying. And he was trying to be super woke. And he's like, I acknowledge my white privilege and all this stuff. And they asked him, they're like, well, are you going to defund the police? Are you going to abolish the police? And he said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. I want to try to find some other solution or whatever. Boo! And they booed him off. They're like, oh, you're written off. You're done. You're not woke enough. That guy is incredibly woke. That guy is a super lefty. Not left wing enough. Canceled. You're a racist. You're a Nazi, etc. Right? Fascist. Just gone. That guy. I mean, imagine if I were the mayor of Minneapolis. I wouldn't even gone to the protesters. Like, this guy went down and basically acknowledged his white guilt and all this stuff and everything and prostrated himself before the mob in an effort to virtue signal and prove that, he's one of the good whites. And then when, the FTP thing came up, fuck the police. That's their slogan, right? He's like, well, no, I don't really want to do that. They're like, you're done, son. You're not a part of our movement. You're canceled. You're not woke enough. You're not left enough for us. So he's done. He's a white shitlord in their eyes, And we had this happen last night, on my stream. Earlier on in the segment before Billy came on, there was a guy who came in here right away, and he was getting a little doxy, dropping personal information about me and stuff, which, it's the kind of stuff that people could pretty easily figure out given, who I am and everything. But it was still, I was getting, doxy kind of vibes from this guy. And then he says, he's like, yeah, but you don't sound like the kind of, he's basically saying, you don't sound like the kind of guy who should be speaking about this. In other words, implying that I'm white, I'm a white male. Ooh, spooky, right? It's like, it reminds me of that 2016, 2017 confrontation that one of the guys from Alex Jones InfoWars network, by the way, Alex Jones is cringe and he's a goofball and he's a lunatic and he's deranged. But when his reporters and stuff go up against SJWs, they still oftentimes come out on top. That's how much of an era of cringe we're living in, where those guys can seem kind of reasonable. Anyway, he got into some super pro-Trump argument, and he was going against some woke SJWs and stuff. And there's this one guy there who, yeah, the nickname that everybody gave to him is Aid Skrillex. And I think it was appropriate. I think it's obvious. If you look at him, you're like, oh, yeah, that is Aid Skrillex right there. He looks like an Aid Skrillex. So that guy is basically like, you're a white male, basically trying to say, you have no place to speak. You have no ground to stand on. You don't have a place at the table here because you're white, basically. And the guy was like, what? And of course, there's a remix and everything of the confrontation. It's pretty funny. I know it's old news and stuff now, but I mean, in many ways, we're in an even crazier time now than we were back then. But the thing is, I've had people say this to me on Twitter too. They're like, it's not your place to speak. I'm like, you're white. You're white. You're white. I'm like, yeah, I'm white. I'm going to talk. I'm going to speak. I don't have an ounce of white guilt. I have no guilt whatsoever in my being born white. I'm not proud of being born white. It's not like an accomplishment. I didn't work for it. But I can understand why, in the face of people trying to shame people to feel guilty to be white pride is making a comeback. I understand that. I can see why people feel, well, if you're going to try to get me to be ashamed, I'm going to go in the other direction. That's part of the era of cringe, is the lefties will do some just absurdly stupid stuff. And then people are on the fence are like, they'll just go in the opposite direction, go hardcore on the right. There's no moderation. There's no nuance. There's no, not even middle ground. I mean, obviously, you don't want to have a middle ground here because they're both crazy, but there's no distancing yourself from the cringe and saying, I'm not going to play that game. And so for me, you're going to try to tell me that I shouldn't speak on this because I'm white? No, I in many ways, it's more incumbent upon me to speak on this because I'm white. Because if you try to silence this, and if you try to get this narrative going around that all whites are guilty and whites can never do enough and whatnot, all that you're going to do is just send more young white men to the alt-right and just become Nazis and fascists and neo-Nazis and stuff, right? That's all that you're doing. And for a lot of these people, they would like that. They want that because they would see it as leading us closer to a race war, which I guess they think that they can win. By the way, spoiler alert, if you're one of those people who thinks that a race war would be a good idea, and you're on like the Black Lives Matter side, I got news. The whites outnumber you by a lot. The whites will have the government on our side. The whites will have the military on our side. You're not going to win that. So if you want a race war so badly, it's not going to work out well for you. So that's the deal right there. I mean, yeah, it would destroy the Western civilization. It would fracture us completely. Obviously, it started in America, but it would spread. It would encompass Canada, the United Kingdom, all this sort of stuff. And, all these Western countries, it would be a disaster. I don't want a race war. But I am saying, if you want it, be careful what you wish for, because we'll win that. The whites will win that. You're outnumbered. So it's as simple as that. So you should try to play within the established system we have of rule of law, checks and balances, democracy, etc. Push for reforms here and there, get policy through, that kind of stuff. Except, of course, in this particular case, there isn't even a policy that you could get through because slavery's already been abolished. There's no slavery anymore. Everybody has equal rights now. What's the policy? I mean, this Chauvin guy, he was charged almost immediately, and he's facing second-degree murder. He very well might get convicted of that, right? We've seen the video. It looks pretty clear cut. What more could you want? Do you want the trial to happen immediately? Oh, no, but you don't understand, Kevin. You don't understand, bro. It's a systemic. It's not just about this one guy. It's like, okay, but what part of the system? Like what? I mean, again, this is just your classic SJW talking points. Basically, systemic racism at this point is almost, I mean, in many ways, this might sound like a hot take. This might sound controversial. But for many people, when they say systemic racism, for a lot of people, they have no idea what they're talking about. They haven't given it much thought. They're just trying to go along with the bandwagon and appear cool and hip and stuff. But for some people who know, a little bit more of what they're talking about, and they have a clear political agenda to push, systemic racism is a dog whistle against whitey. It's a dog whistle against whites just in general. Like, as long as there are whites, there's systemic racism. In other words, it's anti-white bigotry. That's all it is. So I'm going to take comments in the chat. And I know if there are new people listening to me or whatnot, they might think, oh, you sound like you're alt-right or whatever. I can assure you I'm not alt-right. I'm for a very strong and offensive military. I'm for strong national security. I'm a capitalist. I don't believe in this whole nationalist socialist thing that the alt-righties are into. I am actually pretty socially liberal on a lot of stuff. It's just in this climate of wokery, I sound super conservative because it's gone so far to the left that, it doesn't it doesn't even compute with them. It's like, oh, you must be, everybody to them is basically a fascist at this point. And so Billy's saying maybe the stepmom of Rolf can sue hard. Oh, she should sue the hell out of that employer. I mean, I understand why the employer would do it, because they want to, appear woke and stuff, and they don't want the media asking them, how can you employ this woman here who's related to this guy who did this horrible crime? By the way, what was the horrible crime that Rolf did? Garrett Rolf, what did he do? What was his horrible crime? His horrible crime was that he did his job. Again, I'm going to show you the footage. This is a 30-second clip. It's silent. It's the footage from the Wendy's, right by where the incident took place. And you're going to see here, I'm just going to remove the comment that's highlighted right now so that we can, take in the full context of what's occurring right here. But here we go. What you see here, so on the right, that's Brooks. You see very clearly there, definitively, 100%, he fires a taser round at one of the officers. That taser was not his taser. He stole that taser from the officers after tackling them, getting the upper hand on one of them, and then running away, trying to evade capture, and then turns back and shoots the taser round. Again, one more time, my friends, one more time. So this is all following his resisting arrest, his fighting the cops. He did combat with the police. And then he fires a taser round. What is that? Like 50,000 volts or whatever at one of the officers, stuns that officer. And then the other officer, Garrett Rolf, fires on him, right? Because that's what you're trained to do. You fire at cops, you get fired back on. It's as simple as that. I had people try to say to me, they're like, oh, but lethal force is inappropriate. They should have done more. They should have thought more before he acted or whatever. It's like, really, you're going to try this guy for felony murder because he did his job. He put down a criminal. By the way, this guy was driving under the influence. That's another thing. That's the whole reason he was at the Wendy's in the first place, because he fell asleep at the wheel in the drive-through lane. So of course the cops are getting called. The dude's got 3 kids, and then what does he decide to do? He decides to resist arrest, tackle the police, steal the police officer's taser, fire it as he's running away. I got news. If you do that, it doesn't matter if you're white, black, yellow, it doesn't matter. You're probably going to get shot. Don't be surprised when the cops put you down. That's what happens. You don't want them to put you down. Don't resist arrest. Don't fire don't steal their taser and fire the taser at them. You just gave them 100% legitimate use of force against you. You just gave them an excuse to kill you, even if they weren't going to. They might still anyway. And you could say, oh, well, that's not appropriate or whatever. It's like, yeah, but now you're dead. So what's the point? What's the point? All that happened right there because this thug Brooks was driving under the influence of alcohol. I've had people say, well, couldn't they have just let him go? Couldn't, like, this whole thing could have been averted if they just let him go instead of try to arrest him. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't matter if you're black or white. If the cops know that you're driving under the influence of alcohol, like, of course they're gonna book you. Like, what do you think is going to happen? But no, he didn't do anything wrong. He was a good kid. That's the narrative. That's the Black Lives Matter narrative. He was a good kid. Didn't do anything wrong. Dude's 27. Obviously got prior criminal record, of course. Unbelievable. So I'm going to go back to the chat. We got Natalie Avalon here. I used to use anime profiles and didn't use my name, but I stopped giving a crap about what people think of my opinions, so now I use my name. I still won't attach the photo, though. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, if you use your actual name, then you're not hiding behind an avatar. At that point, your avatar is like your brand, right? So my issue is like when the whole thing is anonymous and then what they're trying to make fun of me, or they're trying to cancel me, or they're trying to shame me for the way that I look when I'm out here, basically in the battleground of information, trying to cut through the cringe, the era of cringe and the disinformation campaign waged by our enemies to undermine our civilization. And they come out here and they try to tell me that, oh, haha, this is what you look like. Yeah, I can guarantee you 100% that these guys don't look too fine. They don't look too fine. There's a reason they're anonymous. There's a reason they won't upload their real profile picture. They ain't stunning. They ain't Leonardo DiCaprio, if you know what I'm saying. So we got Billy Bong here. He says, Alex, lose your kids to trigger the Libs Jones. I like that. I like my friend Elias' nickname for Alex. He calls him Alex lost my kids to own the Libs Jones. I really like that one too, because it actually happened, right? I mean, he did lose his kids in an attempt to own the Libs. So we got Natalie Avalon here, says, don't give an inch. It's never enough. Don't legitimize their faux outrage and invalid quote unquote grievances. 100%, 100%. It's the same thing in foreign policy. You don't give an inch to North Korea. You don't give an inch to Iran. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And then they'll try to reel you in because you've already committed to this process of negotiations. That's why for me, I'm a staunch unilateralist. I am, I'm hawk-pilled. There's no negotiations. It's just, you're an enemy. You're going to be removed. Simple as that. So Billy Stahl says you should enable super chat on your live streams. Unfortunately, YouTube has gotten super woke and they're trying to go, bland and cookie cutter and vanilla, and they don't like independent voices on their platform. But however, they still want the air, the veneer of being the network, or the platform rather, of independent content creation for branding purposes. So they still allow independent voices here, but they make it damn hard for a lot of people to get to any status of financial incentive within YouTube. And so in order to get super chats enabled on the live streams, I need to have a minimum of 1,000 subscribers first. So the best way that you all can help, if you'd like to see that happen, because of course, once that is enabled, I'll be obviously taking comments from super chats first. As it is already, I will address comments if I see them from the patrons first, because we already got the patron gang at the channel, right? The thing is, it's going to be a while still, but what you can do to help is subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet. Get your friends to subscribe to this channel and share my video streams or just the channel link around to various political or other forums that are out there on the internet. So we could get a bigger audience here, get more subs, and eventually hit 1K so that we can get the super chats enabled and the monetization active if YouTube even approves that. If they don't, it's fine, because we got the patron gang, right? We're up to, what is it, $61 a month right now. Once we hit $100 a month, I will be doing pre-recorded videos premiering daily to YouTube. So I used to only really do pre-recorded videos, and I would premiere them. And, it's fun and stuff, but I decided, these streams are easier to do because I'm working a lot, and I like the ability to really kind of alter the content on the spot in relation to what the audience is saying. I like the interaction with the audience, of course. So we're going to go through the chat a bit more. So thank you to everybody for being here tonight. Obviously, we got a lot of channels out there. Y'all could be watching like Kyle Kalinske, Jimmy Dore, Young Turks. Could be watching Nick Fuentes. Could be watching Vosh. All these cringe lords and yikes mongers out there. But y'all are pilled. You choose to be here every night. And yeah, there are very few substitutes for this channel that are out there. I mean, it's one of the only places to be. really some of the only other content creators in our community that are still really active are like Jay, the work heddle. You can go and check out his channel. He has a lot of videos frequently uploaded and streams and whatnot. Reese and Billy, they've made hundreds of videos, and you can go and check out their old work. I mean, Reese recently uploaded a video too, and it was great. It was about 5 minutes of him dunking on some dictator apologists. I think it was like Ben Norton. Very, very, very disgusting guy. Good video. Everybody should go and check that out, and subscribe to Nightmare Fuel, of course. My friend Reese, he's obviously been a huge help to my channel. He had me on his channel on a stream back when I had like 17 subs on YouTube, and he had like almost 10,000. He's a pretty cool guy. What else do we have here in the chat? So we've got HN. He says Silicon Valley, DC, the Beltway are all solidly left wing. He's saying that they would side with like the BLM if it came down to a race war. I still think the military, the White House, that kind of stuff. Yeah, you're right. Like Silicon Valley and stuff would side with them, I guess, but they don't really have like any military power. Like the militias, the military, the government, the cops would not be on their side. So if a race war broke out, it wouldn't work out well for them. So Superpower Broadcasting, I think it's pathetic. Some people are trying to attack Chauvin's soon-to-be ex-wife. Oh, yeah. See, that's the whole guilt by association thing. It's so dumb. I mean, I guess she's white, right? So she must be guilty. We're all guilty, aren't we? We're all white, or at least I'm white. So I guess I'm guilty. Like, that's another thing. Had people try to tell me that it's racist to say it's okay to be white. And I'm like, if you think saying it's okay to be white is racist, you're probably racist. Let's see. We got Robert. He says, I saw some tweets saying, his life was threatened by a taser, as if they expect cops to be superheroes. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Cops are not perfect. No cop is perfect. They do their best. They do a very important job. And all those people on Twitter, none of those woke lefties whose parents make like 200 grand and send them to like woke Ivy League schools or Berkeley or whatever, where they're sheltered away from the real world. None of those kids have any idea of the stress of what it's like to try to police an inner city. All that they know is, but slavery, he didn't really do anything wrong. Sure, he fired the taser at the cop, but like slavery and stuff, right? That's all that they have. They have no real world experience whatsoever. They have no empathy for the police. They have no empathy at all. And the irony is, the only way that little bubble, that ivory tower that they reside in, could even exist is because the cops protect civilization. Imagine we did actually just say, oh, we're done with the police, we're done with the military, we're just going to do anarchy. You think like Berkeley and Harvard would still be able to operate? You think these kids would still be able to like sip their like Starbucks lattes and read like Black Lives Matter philosophers and stuff or whatever? Talk about how like whitey is the enemy and stuff. No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't, because now you are in the state of nature, essentially. And as Thomas Hobbes famously wrote, life in that condition is, what did he say? He said it was short, brutish, nasty, and poor, to paraphrase it. I think I got the order a bit wrong there. But you get the idea. Basically, Lord of the Flies, all man, each man for himself, that sort of thing. Until, of course, everybody realizes they've had enough of it, and then covenant around a new sovereign, a new king, right, to restore order, which would inevitably happen. And then that king would have a new police force, because the police are inevitable. Anarchy is an unstable equilibrium. Humans, yes, we are vicious. We are brutal. Our human nature is scary. Human nature is terrifying. To deal with humans in the absence of state authority, in the absence of an overwhelming force to compel good behavior, is really terrifying. And you might say, well, Kevin, but you don't understand. Like, most humans are good and stuff. It's like, even if I gave you that premise, which I don't really, I think most people try to give the air of being good people. I don't necessarily think most people are good people, but let's say like 90, let's just say for the sake of argument, 90% of people are good, or 95% of people are inherently intrinsically good. Well, who do you think is going to be doing all the killing and plundering and making society suck? It's going to be the 5% that are psychopathic, that are going to take advantage. They're going to force themselves upon you and plunder you and send you 6 feet under, right? Because that's how the state of nature works. Even if it was 1 in 1,000 people, those would be the people robbing everybody and causing a mess. In other words, anarchy is not, it's a pipe dream. Can never be a thing. People like Vosh, those types of people, their world will never manifest itself. It will never survive. It is an unstable equilibrium. If it exists for even a moment, it will decay due to, the entropy of human nature, which will take hold and overwhelm the system, and chaos and filth and vice, essentially, right? I mean, every man killing each other, stealing property, etc. And if that's not what does the system in, then it will be a foreign power seizing the opportunity of the power vacuum to seize territory that will conquer them. Such as the case of the Catalonia example, because it turns out, looks like fascists win against an anarchist state. So, doesn't really work out too well. I'm going to keep going through the chat. Billy Stahl writes, Rayshard Brooks didn't want to go back to prison. That's why he ran. He was on probation for beating his wife and children. We know that he had priors. See, that's another thing. I've seen arguments from these woke lefties trying to say that, yeah, but you don't understand, Kevin, systemic racism is a thing because blacks will get higher sentences for the same crimes that whites do, ignoring all context. This is not a complicated argument. This is not, if ever you come across this argument, it is a hack talking point. It is a bunk and junk talking point. They are trying to gaslight you and swindle you and try to get you to say, I guess I'll have to give you ground on that. No, you don't owe them any ground because they're BSing you to your face. They're trying to gaslight you. You know what the reality is? The reason why blacks tend to get much longer criminal sentencing for the same crime, let's say an average white gets convicted on, I don't know, robbery, say, and then an average black gets convicted on robbery. But the average black, say, I don't know, I don't have the stats here, but say he gets sentenced to twice as long a sentence as a white. You're like, racism. Yeah, but look at the context. The white guy, that was his first offense, or maybe his second offense. The black guy, on average, is probably like his 18th or 19th offense or whatever. If you got prior convictions, that's going to impact on your sentencing. That's not complicated. And that's not like some obscure legal sort of thing that like only those who are like really top grade law students and lawyers and stuff are going to know. Like, that's not complicated. Of course, if you've got prior convictions, the same goes if you're white. If the black guy's got no priors and the white guy's got a lifelong criminal record, who do you think is going to get the harsher sentence for that particular crime? Well, they're going to view it as a series in a long list of data points indicating a criminal disposition. And they're going to sentence appropriately. And the white guy is going to go to jail for a lot longer. That's not complicated. That's not systemic racism. That's why I'm saying systemic racism is a dog whistle against whites. So be vigilant, my friends, because when you see it, somebody's trying to gaslight you, to try to get you to give ground, to apologize on behalf of what? Whites? Like as if whites are even like some big collective entity. Like as if Russians and Brits and Americans and Canadians have like, they're all just one block. They're all just one acting. Like, no, you have to treat people as individuals. So, see, that's another reason why I'm not with the alt-right, why I have basically nothing in common with the alt-right. Really, the only thing that the alt-right and I have in common on is being against the SJWs on this. Like on foreign policy, we disagree. On economics, we disagree. On social issues, we disagree. Obviously, on collectivism versus individualism, we disagree. I'm an individualist. They're collectivists. They're literally like socialists, basically. So fascists, national socialists, that kind of stuff. Fresh News says liberals believe that defunding police and funding school programs, housing, and healthcare will stop crime. Well, I'm liberal, but I'm not liberal in that sense. He's obviously meaning liberals as in like these super woke lefties and stuff. I'm liberal in like the Milton Friedman sense of the term, Reagan sense of the term. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, he corrects to leftist, right? Because like I'm a liberal, right? Like I'm center right, basically. I'm center to center right. Whereas that's basically what liberalism is. Individual rights, property rights, freedom, that kind of stuff. So, John Locke, Adam Smith, that whole tradition, goes way back. But what else do we have here? Oh yeah, we'll keep going. Yeah, Natalie's noting he was also on parole. So that seems to be the sort of hypothesis or whatever as to why he ran. But that really goes to the broader point here, which is that he tried to evade capture, and you invaded capture doesn't give you the right to kill somebody, obviously. And people are saying, oh, he shot him in the back. He shot him in the back. Yeah, but that ignores the context that Brooks fired first and shot a taser round at one of the officers. Like a taser, people have died from taser rounds. It's not like, oh, he threw what? Like he threw a piece of gum at him. No, he stole his taser and fired his taser at him. He did combat with the police. What do you think is supposed to happen in that situation? They put him down. They put him down like a rabid dog. So that's what you get if you fight the police. Like, that's not complicated. Fresh News says, don't agree with your views 100%, but you do make some pretty good arguments when it comes to war. And I appreciate that. Even just hearing the other side is commendable at this point, because we live in a culture, an era of cringe in which almost all of YouTube is just, with the exception of like Reese and Billy and Jay and a few others in our community, it's just all war bad. Doesn't matter if they're right wing, doesn't matter if they're left wing. It's all just end the wars, end the wars. Let's just surrender to everybody. Let's just apologize and be guilty of being Western and say that we're the real bad guys. And actually, the Taliban is anti-imperialist and Iran's the good guy and Israel's bad and we're bad. And is democracy even a good thing? Maybe we should try like communism or fascism or something, bro. That's what like most of YouTube basically is. All the established figures that make a killing on YouTube, they're all these cringy either grifters who have gone anti-war like Dave Rubin and, to a lesser extent, Charlie Kirk. I do think Charlie Kirk holds some genuinely conservative views. I don't think he's just purely a grifter. Whereas Rubin, it's clear he basically doesn't really believe anything. But then you've got people who they're not even so much grifters. They do have a genuine view, but they're just completely wrong about everything. And then you do have some people that are a counter to that. I mean, Ben Shapiro has some good points about foreign policy that I agree with. But even in Ben Shapiro's case, it's mostly limited to the Middle East. When North Korea is the largest threat right now, North Korea is arming hundreds of nukes against the Western world right now, each decade. Eventually, they're going to reach a sufficient number where they can start the war with the South and get the rest of the world to lay off and let them take the South. That's going to be a nightmare because it's going to make the West look pathetic and the rest of the world will no longer respect America, and Europe will fall overnight. Europe will surrender to the Russians. There won't even have to be a war. They'll just agree to whatever Putin wants or whoever the leader is then, because they know that American defense doesn't mean anything. So Natalie Avalon writes back here, I can't stand Kyle Kulinski. That's Kremlin Kyle, the Russian Kyle. I wish he would go visit Gaza to see what he supports. Oh, he'll never do it. He'll never do it. I mean, I got news. It doesn't work out for you very well if you are a homosexual in Gaza. I mean, obviously, he's the lesbian softball coach, right? They don't really like lesbians too much over in Gaza. Not really big fans. They kind of string them up and lynch them, right? Or throw them off roofs. That's how Hamas treats the lesbian community over there. So Kyle wouldn't fare too well. What else do we have here? Oh, okay. So they're saying that Chauvin's wife, Kelly Chauvin, is actually Asian. So, oh, it doesn't matter. Asians might as well just be whites, right? Like, there's oftentimes that argument that Jews are whites. It's funny because, like, the alt right will try to argue that the Jews, they're the opposite of whites, they're evil and all this stuff. But then the far left will argue Jews and whites are the same thing and they're evil. They're all evil. It's hilarious, man. This whole identity politics crap is it's so cringe. This is part of what I mean by the era of cringe. And of course, it all goes back. I mean, all these people have the same view when it comes to the West and war, when it comes to Iraq, when it comes to North Korea, when it comes to Iran. They're all on the side of the North Koreans. They're all on the side of the Iranians. They're all on the side of the Russians. They all are. And that's why Putin supports both sides. That's why Putin supports the alt-right and Black Lives Matter. Why? Because they both hate America. So they both hate the West. They both hate the American order, the liberal order. Nicholas says, your ideology is skewed if you're set off by innocuous phrases like all lives matter and it's okay to be white. Well, the thing that's funny is the people who canceled me over it's okay to be white were not like the Rose Twitter. They weren't socialists. They weren't even like your super far black nationalist type people. They were neoliberals that say that they're for like, what? Like, I guess, I mean, I'd say they're for, I guess, free market economics, except they're not. They'll oftentimes have all the taxes they support and all this kind of crap and everything in there. A lot of them are basically social democrats. They basically canceled me after I said it's okay to be white on Twitter. One of the notorious ones that I've like written off, just an absolute joke, a hypocrite, a morally duplicitous hack. She tweeted, and she tweets about me all the time, and she's written off right now. And I was thinking about it, after the whole thing about where she was teasing that she was going to have a debate with me, even though she'd never reached out to me. Obviously, she's blocked, but she could have reached out with a sock account or something. Never had any conversation about the deposit fee for the debate. Nothing to do with that. It's just, oh, I might be debating him. It's like, oh, but then she was surprised to find out that I charge for debates. Oh, I wonder why I charge for debates when it's this kind of cringe that I'm going to be exposed to for an hour. Like, give me a break. So she's written off. She's written off. Even if she does genuinely offer the $100 right now, I'm done. She's written off. She's blocked. She's over. But she's all like, oh, he's going mask off right now because she showed the screenshot of me saying it's okay to be white. And people are like, yep, definitely a Nazi. Definitely a Nazi. It's okay to be white. If you turn that phrase into a Nazi statement, don't be surprised if all of a sudden a lot of young white guys grow up to be Nazis. Because if they have to choose between the guilt that you want them to feel or this like stupid pride that the Nazis want them to feel, they'll choose the pride. Like, I gotta keep it real with you. If I had to pick between the two, I'd rather be proud to be white than be shameful to be white. I'd rather be, 100% proud and be like, oh yeah, I'm white. It was the greatest thing that ever happened. I was born white. That sort of thing. Then I would say, oh, I'm so ashamed. I'm so guilty because I was born white. Like, of course, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, yeah, I was born white. It's not an accomplishment. The alt-right would say that's the greatest thing you ever did. Like, you're special, man. Because, of course, they know their demographic. They know that their demographic are losers. There's a reason they joined the alt-right, because they were seeking meaning and they were seeking guidance because they can't even think for themselves and they got nothing going on in their life. And then all of a sudden there's this guy, Stefan Molyneux or Jared Taylor or whoever the hell it happens to be, or Richard Spencer or Andrew Anglin, or back in the day, Hitler or whatever it happens to be, who says, no, but you might feel like a loser, but understand, you're special because you were born white, and that's amazing, and you should be proud of that. It's like I'm not proud to be white, but I'd rather be proud to be white than ashamed to be white, and I'm not alone in that. So don't be surprised if a bunch of people join the alt-right as a response of all the cringe that's been posted in the last month, because that's what happens. The far left will just go off the deep end, and then people are going to join the far right in response, and then the far right grows. And then the far left grows in response to that. That's why Putin loves both sides. That's why Putin hypes up both sides. Because both sides eat away at the fabric of our society and the resolve of our civilization and the unity of our nations. So, Fresh News says, we say all lives matter because in 2014, many protesters were inciting violence against whites, and Black Lives Matter phrase came about because they assume the country is against Black lives. Yeah, no, he says it's a straw man that apparently they believe America in general is against Black Americans. Oh, Henry's here. That's very cool. Obviously, I'm like 15 minutes behind on the chat right now. There's a lot to go over. I got a lot of things to say. Obviously, it's pretty late, so I'm not going to be sending out any invites right now. This one's just going to be a monologue. This one's just going to be, your boy Kevin Castley here, Superpower Broadcasting, speaking his mind, addressing comments in the chat, talking about the era of cringe and the climate of wokery that has engulfed the political discourse as of late. Take a look here. What else we got going on in the chat? Billy Stahl says this channel will never be monetized by YouTube. It will be labeled as far-right extremist white supremacy. If Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben can't make it, you're screwed. Start in Venmo so we can support. Oh yeah, I'm not planning on the monetization thing coming through YouTube. I've got a Patreon set up. It's patreon.com/superpower broadcasting. Like I said, we're up to $61 a month right now. That's really good for a small channel. Like I said, when we hit $100 a month, I'll be rolling out daily pre-recorded videos premiering to YouTube in addition to daily streams. So you get 2 videos a day, 14 videos a week for $100 a month. With the patron gang pooling together. This channel needs $3,000 a month to be 100% financially viable, to the point that I don't have to work any other job. I could just focus on research, making content, and managing the Discord that I'll have at that point and everything set up. So, and other affairs related to the business of the channel, and of course doing research and whatnot with respect to foreign policy news, all that kind of stuff, making better content, obviously owning the isolationists out there, that kind of stuff. So, and you might say, well, you're nowhere near there, bro. You're like, what is that, like 2%, 3% the way there? Yeah, but for 330 subscribers, that ain't bad. So we got to keep it up. We got to keep it up. We got to keep growing. But pretty good ratio so far. I'm hyped on the patron gang. Patron gang has been based, so in hawk-pilled, no doubt. You love to see it. We got Billy Stahl. He said, what else is there here? Yeah, we got a lot of comments. Yeah, basically, to summarize that whole thing about Chauvin's wife, basically, if you're not black, you're white. Like white basically means that's exactly it. It's like a social construct, to use a term of theirs. The same way that when, for example, the alt-right will call me a Jew because of my ears. I'm not Jewish. Like there's no part of me that's Jewish. But normally they would say, well, look at his Jew nose. But I don't have like a larger than average nose or anything. So they need something else to prove that I'm a Jew. So then they turn to me having bigger than average ears. So they're like, I knew it. He's a Jew. He's got them Jew ears, which isn't even a thing until I started my channel, because they need some way to prove that I must be a Jew, because to them, Jew doesn't even really mean an ethnicity anymore. It's just you're like a neocon. You support Israel, so therefore you're a Jew. It's not even about race. It's the same way in this. It's like, you're married to Derek Chauvin. Well, you must be white. It's like, no, well, she's Asian. No, but by definition, if you're married to him, you're white. Well, she was acting white. It's like, it's honestly the same degree of rhetoric as the alt-right, because the alt-right will say things like, stay white, bro, and that kind of stuff. And basically, kind of imply that, all civilization and everything good in the world is white. And then the Black Lives Matter people will go and literally define cops, even black cops, as white, because they'll say that the law, the legal system, the justice system, the government, civilization as we know it. Those are all white constructs. So in other words, they're agreeing with the alt-right. The only difference is that the alt-right sees those things as good and sees civilization and order and stuff as good. And the Black Lives Matter people want literal anarchy and chaos. So that's the only difference. They like basically agree on everything. They just have a different, they have a different worldview. They have a different preference. So it's kind of funny to me. How that works. Just the blending, I have said it before. The horseshoe bends cringeward. The far left and the far right have a lot more in common than most people would realize. And so it's not even like a horseshoe, it's a full circle. Like once you go super far down the Black Lives Matter rabbit hole, you're going to come out on the other end like basically sounding like a white nationalist. It's hilarious, man. It's sad. So to answer Billy Stahl's question, what's the Patreon link? I've got the Patreon link, rolling through the Chiron right now at the bottom of the screen. Normally, every day I remember to upload the, the links for the description before the stream happens. However, today I was very busy, forgot to do it. So after this stream goes off air, I will, edit the stream and put those links into the description. But you can see the Patreon link right there. And honestly, even $1 a month helps. It's great. I mean, the fact that we got this support going, it's really awesome. And the thing is, let's keep it real. If I were monetized at 1,000 subs, that's like probably going to translate into like a couple bucks a month anyway. To get $61 on Patreon, that's a much bigger impact. It's the patrons that are the foundation of this channel. It is not whatever little token of incentive that YouTube might offer. Because you're right, YouTube is just, they're too woke for their own good. They really don't want original and independent views on here. They want CNN. They want John Oliver. They want Trevor Noah. In other words, they just basically want to make YouTube this platform for the mainstream established media, but then have this marketing of, oh, we're hype. This is where all the independent voices go. And it's like, well, no, that's not really true. Sure, independent voices come on here, but where they derive their support from? It's from external third-party networks and platforms such as Patreon. It's not from like YouTube. YouTube is not encouraging and incentivizing independent content creators right now, at least not in politics. So for them to kind of, coast on YouTubers being out here and speaking their minds. Yeah, but you don't really get to take credit for that because those creators are using your platform to reach an audience, but you're not making it easier for them. You're not encouraging them. In fact, you're discouraging them. I've had friends who get all kinds of videos taken down for being mean, as Reese says, for talking about mean things. And so it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. And it's like what Henry says here. He says, make YouTube television again. Make YouTube TV again. Like, how boring is that? How boring is that? People have said, oh, you're pro-establishment or whatever. It's like, what do I have in common with the establishment? The establishment right now wants to bow down and sing the praise of the North Korean dictator and dust the portraits of the dictator of North Korea, whether it's Trump, or it's the neoliberals who see that, oh, well, we can trade with them, bro. We could make a quick buck and make cheap toys there, bro. Let's do diplomacy, bro. War bad, bro. Like, show me war hawks in power. All of the establishment are pigeons. There's no war hawks in the establishment because war costs money. They're not interested in that. And then, of course, when it comes to economics and everything, obviously the establishment right now I have very little in common with. And then when it comes to social issues, let's keep it real. The establishment right now is too woke for its own good. You got all these huge corporations out there that are just desperately pandering to the rioters and excusing the rioters and hyping up the rioters. And it's sad. It's really sad. I would hope that we could live in a civilization where those who manage huge corporations would have the common sense to say, we're not going to grift on the complete anarchy and destruction of livelihoods of the population so that we can make a quick buck like Nike did. It's pathetic. Totally pathetic. I mean, when I see the Nike swoosh thing now, all I see is just, they basically stand in solidarity with the rioters. The rioters who burn down businesses, burn down houses, burn down Wendy's. Again, they burned down Wendy's in Atlanta because the cop did his job properly and kept everybody safe. They burned down a Wendy's over that. And you think, well, what did the Wendy's have to do with it? Nothing. This incident just took place outside the Wendy's because Brooks was piss drunk and driving and fell asleep in the Wendy's drive-thru. Oh, the cops tried to arrest him and he resisted arrest, and then he shot a projectile at them, so they had to put him down. Oh, okay, it was a racism, dude. It was a no good evil racisms. Let's go and burn down the Wendy's. That'll show them. That'll show Whitey. I'm sure most of the employees of that Wendy's, probably even the ownership of that Wendy's was black, right? Had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. And they burned it down. They burned it down. And then you got these corporations, you got the mainstream media, you got CNN is despicable. I can't even watch CNN anymore. Like, I watch clips from CNN. I will see highlights from CNN, but I'm not going to sit down and watch Jake Tapper speak for 20 minutes about how, these cops or whatever are racist for doing their job. I'm not going to listen to Don Lemon try to lecture me about how I should feel guilty for being born white. Who the hell wants to watch this? And there's a reason why Fox News gets far more viewership than CNN and MSNBC does, because they're not really in the business of woke scolding their audience. So, I mean, my dream and everything going forward over the next decades would be that at some point this channel can become financially viable. But I got to keep it real. If I ever was offered a contract by any of these mainstream outlets, the only one that I would ever consider working for would be Fox. I mean, let's keep it real. If my channel's financially viable, I basically do the Fox thing like as a volunteer thing, just to reach more people. Because at that point, it's like, if you needed to pay the bills, that's one thing. But like, if you already got, everything set up and you're established on YouTube, like, hell, if they offered me something, I'd basically do it for free, just to reach the boomers. Because right here, I'm mostly reaching the Zoomers, right, on YouTube. But this idea that like we're going to turn YouTube, which is supposed to be, different, we're going to turn this into the old school mainstream TV. Well, I got news. This is what's going to happen to the executives and the shareholders over at YouTube. I know that they are very concerned with the reputation of their brand right now, and they think that they can maximize returns and the life of their company by, filtering everything out. And let's not be too edgy or too spicy, bro. Let's just like keep things, vanilla and stuff. But I got news. The reason why YouTube became a big thing in the first place was because of the independent content creators. If they forfeit that and they hand that over and say, we don't want any part in that anymore, there will be a rival that will, basically usurp YouTube's dominance. And YouTube will fade into obscurity. And it won't happen overnight, but there might come a point in the 2040s or the 2050s, when, your kids will ask you, to those of you in the chat, they'll ask you, like, what's this YouTube thing you were talking about? And you're like, oh, it was this platform that was really cool for a long time. But then they kind of dried up, got crusty, and then we all went somewhere else. And that'll be the story of YouTube. So is that going to be good for the shareholders? No, it's not. No, it's not. So if the shareholders care about their own security, they would understand the importance of having a vibrant, free speech, whatever you want to call it, platform on here. Because otherwise, they're not going to have a big platform for too long. They can hold a monopoly for a long time, but that's not a stable equilibrium. You're not going to have a stable sort of monopoly type power there when you're shutting the independent content creation out of your platform and becoming the bastion, the home of the old mainstream established media. Because if I want to do that, I can just subscribe to cable or whatever, right? Like if I want to watch that, I can just watch that on TV. Why would I go to YouTube for that? I go to YouTube if I want to see like Reese, give his opinion on something. Or if I want to see, because I watch like a lot of different sides. Like I'll watch stuff that's like, I mean, really far left, like Young Turks and stuff. And like I'll watch stuff just to see what they're up to. Like I'll watch Nick Fuentes, not so much anymore, but I used to, or like Red Ice Radio, see what they're talking about, you know, and everything in between. Because that was the thing that's good about YouTube, is that you can see what these different camps represent. And of course, on things like war, national security, they all agree with each other, like all the crazies, on the right and the left, the far right, the far left, they all agree on that stuff. But I still think it's important to try to keep up with the talking points of your opponents. But if they're just going to make YouTube like the home of like Disney and CNN and stuff, it's not going to be a big platform for that long. They'll still be like a big platform, but it won't have the energy, it won't have that flair, and they'll lose their hold on that monopoly, right? I mean, they might still be decently big. You know, Yahoo's still kind of big, I guess, but like, who uses Yahoo, right? It's still a thing. I'm sure, you know, people are still making money from Yahoo, but let's keep it real. Nobody's too hyped on Yahoo, right? So that's what's going to happen to YouTube at this rate. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad because there's a lot of potential there for YouTube, and they're just handing it over to their competitor of the future. Or maybe that competitor exists right now and hasn't risen to prominence just yet, but we'll all be familiar with the name ubiquitously in like 2 years. So Natalie says, to hell with Disney, their greed needs to be checked. God. Let's see. Henry says, Fox is also the only conservative news station. I mean, there's a lot of conservative radio, though, but let's see. He's saying they mad about Aunt Jemima, but not Cracker Jacks. Oh, man, that's such a good point. Oh, man, that's such a good point. That's ironic right there. Nicholas asks, is Don Lemon at least a Hannity type who doesn't claim to be a journalist? Because he editorializes like crazy. To say nothing of Saliza and his Clinton email derangement syndrome. Oh, see, that's the thing. That's the thing, yeah. Don Lemon, I mean, I'm not a fan of him. I find him to be pretty cringy. Oh, we got Jack Fleck here. Hello, Jack. How's it going? He had me on, interviewed me about a month ago, a few weeks ago or so. Interesting conversation. We don't agree on much, but, you know, I commend him for having me on. You know, probably the first exposure that his audience ever got to a neocon, for sure. So I appreciate the opportunity there. So let's see. What else is going on in the chat? Billy says, One America News Network is a good conservative news network too. I've seen a lot of stuff that basically implies that they have received funding through the Russians. I need to do more research on it, but they seem kind of hacky. And yeah, Fox News has been a joke with the Carlson type stuff. Hannity will always have a place at Fox, but once we get a hawk back in charge, like Nikki Haley or something, Tucker Carlson's got to go. He's got to go. Like he'll just be asked to leave. Yeah, diversity. And I know a lot of people cancel Jack Fleck. Like I understand that. I get why it happened, but that's the thing. Jack Fleck talks with people of, you know, that I basically have nothing in common with. But he also talks with me. So, you know, that's kind of, you know, what YouTube used to be about. So Billy Stahl asked, do you have a Twitter account? Yes, I will put my Twitter in the Chiron below. So I'm right there at Kevin Castley. You can go and follow me there. Past 600 subs, or followers rather. And see, the thing was, I was at right about the same Twitter following that I was a couple weeks ago when I got canceled. And a ton of neolibs unfollowed me. And it's taken me about 3 weeks or a couple weeks to get back to where I was before. Why did they unfollow me? Because I said it's okay to be white. I defended the police. Amazing. You know, if you say things like it's okay to be white, neoliberal Twitter will call you a Nazi. So, and they will cancel you. But I've been canceled by them several times before. It's not a new thing. They always try to get my following down, and it never works, and they're cringe and they all get blocked. So that's how that goes. And then I grow at the end of the day. Yeah, I have a slower growth rate on Twitter. Don't get me wrong. My opponents in that community, they'll get like 1,000 followers in like a month or whatever. they also follow a lot more people than I do. I have a strict policy. I will never, ever, in the lifetime of my activity on Twitter, ever follow more than 100 people, or I should say 99 people. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. And there are so many advantages to that I will have to do a pre-recorded video on where I can just kind of go into it in detail as to why you should never follow more than 99 people. Charlie Kirk is the opposite of me. Charlie Kirk follows, I call him Cheesy Charlie. He's Cheesy Charlie. He's basically, he agrees with Kyle Kulinski on foreign policy. They agree on everything except for like some economics and stuff. That's the only reason Kyle debated him in the first place, is because he knew he wouldn't be challenged on foreign policy. He follows over 250,000 people on Twitter. And so here's the problem with that. Is one of those people he follows an actual Nazi? Yeah, like 100%. I know it's technically like 99.9999% or whatever, but we'll round up 100% chance somebody he follows is a literal Nazi. Is one of the people that he follows literally a communist? Yeah, 100%. And you might say, really, is Charlie going to go and click, oh, this guy looks like a Nazi, I'm going to follow him? No, probably not. Charlie Kirk's probably not going to do that. He's probably not going to follow a communist that he knows is a communist. But here's the deal. When you're following 250,000 people, that's more than a lot of cities in the world. When you're following that many people for years, do some of them turn into Nazis or communists over time just through like natural evolution or whatever, or radicalization? Yeah, absolutely. And how are you going to keep track of that? How are you going to be like, oh, this guy just crossed the line, he kind of sounds like a Nazi? You're following 250,000 people. You cannot keep track of all of them. For me, I know every single person I'm following or account I'm following, network I'm following, and I can see what they're posting. Yeah, I don't see all of it, but I can keep tabs. And if all of a sudden one of them starts going off the deep end, I can make an appropriate course of action pretty soon to decide, oh yeah, I'm not following this guy, or that guy's blocked. Charlie Kirk can't do that. It's not even his fault, except for the fact that he just follows too many people. I would be shocked if he purposefully followed a Nazi or a communist, knowing that they're a communist or a Nazi. But when you're following 250,000 people, it's unavoidable. So don't ever, you don't have to be as strict as I am. You can follow like 150 people or whatever. I'm strict about the 99 thing. I think, you got to keep it 2 digits. 2 digits is the maximum. Once you go 3 digits, it doesn't really work for me. So a lot of these people cancel me. They're like, he doesn't have that many followers now or whatever. It's like, okay, but here's the deal. You're following like 2,500 people and you have 5,000 followers. Not impressive. I'm following like 95 people and I have 600 followers. That's a more impressive ratio. Granted, it's still small, right? Like, because there's people out there that follow like 90 people and have like 1 million followers, right? But like, I'm not like Steven Crowder yet, right? Like that's a while off. But that's the point. That's the point, is that it really doesn't matter. I'm not impressed with their ratios is the point. So when they go and try to cancel me or whatever, it's like, okay, but you don't understand. You've just done me a favor. Now my following is less composed of cringe mongers and yikes lords who are going to call me a racist for saying it's okay to be white. Like, I don't want you following me on Twitter if you're going to try to cancel me over that. Like, in other words, they think I'm like all heartbroken, and I look at my Twitter and I see, oh, I've gone down some followers. No, I look at that and I'm like, I just purged the filth. They did it themselves. I didn't even have to click any buttons. They did it for me. It was effortless. How beautiful is that? How efficient is that? And it's happened with the Trump people too. I've had Trump people that follow me, and then they find out that like I'm a hawk and stuff on foreign policy, so they unfollow me. Or they call me a warmonger or whatever. It's like, okay, you just did me a favor. So now I don't have to deal with you anymore. Wonderful. So again, I'd rather be right than woke, no doubt. You're not going to cancel me. You're not going to shame me. You're not going to make me feel bad, for speaking my mind as a white male. Yeah, it's like, you can call me a white male. What's my response to that? My response is just, it's that classic meme right here. It's like, let's just get the meme up. I'll just remove the comment here so we can take in the meme. Like, you support regime change wars. And my response is just like, yes. It's like, you're a white male. It's just like, yes. It's like your point. Like, oh, Jack Flex saying he doesn't follow Groypers, but he does follow Nazis and communists. And Henry says he follows communists too. Uriel says, Kevin, you are white. Lol, white. And then my response is just like, yes. It's like, yeah, I'm white. Like, what about it? Oh, but you don't understand. If you're white, you can't speak about like crime and stuff because like only blacks can talk about crime, man. Because like I guess crime is a black thing, man. What are you, a Nazi? Oh man. Oh man. And it's funny too because you might think it was the communists or the socialists and stuff that are going to cancel me. But you know, in fairness to them, they were never following me in the first place. No, it was the neo-libs. It was like these dorky establishment losers who like shill for the credit card industry and are like 18, 19 years old and have like no life and are like freshmen in college that don't really know anything. But, you know, they're all horny for Paul Krugman. Oh, cringe, man. And they love Tulsi Gabbard and AOC and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie. And yes, they love Biden too, but they don't like Biden for the same reasons that I like Biden. Let's keep it real. Biden has a long career. He's compromised with a lot of people. He's got a long track record. To say that you support Biden, that can go a number of different ways. There are blue dog kind of, you know, moderate conservative Democrats that support Biden. There are also the super woke bros like Vosh that support Biden. So there's a big tent over there on the Democratic side, right? So it's not even the same thing with Trump. Like there are hawks who support Trump, but by and large, those who support Trump on the Republican side, they're like super into Trump for all more or less the same reasons, with the exception of like maybe Nikki Haley and stuff who are supporting him basically because they have to until they get power, right? Because they don't want to be thrown out of the party before they've got a chance of being president, right? So they basically have to go along and bite their tongue. But most, you know, run-of-the-mill Republicans that are for Trump, you know, they're all going to have more or less the same agenda. But with Democrats that are for Biden, big pool of different people there. Like that's a big tent. So it was the Biden fans that canceled me over that. So Jack Flex says, I feel you, Kevin. I've been canceled on Reddit. See, I stopped using Reddit about a year ago. I got bored of Reddit. Something about the platform, it just struck me as kind of like a neckbeardy like platform. And I understand Twitter is toxic as hell, but for some reason I find that Twitter works better for me than Reddit does. Because at the end of the day, I don't have time for a million conversations and threads with people or whatever. I just want to post my views, get followers, and promote my content, and it's a good platform to do it in. I don't have time to speak with Zoomy Vosh fans or Zoomy Kyle fans or Zoomy what's the far right equivalent? I guess like Michelle Malkin fans or Candace Owen fans. I don't have time for it. And Twitter's a really good place because if you want to interact with everybody, you can. Or if you just want to do your thing and speak your truth and go about your day, you can put stuff out into the ether and go about your day, and people will have to come to terms with it, but you don't necessarily have to come to terms with them. And I like that. I like that a lot. What else do we have here? Jack Flex says Biden will probably win. Billy and I disagreed last night because Billy and I both basically came to the conclusion that if the election is going to revolve around these riots, in other words, if these riots and protests and stuff continue past the conventions and they go into like September and stuff, and this is like the defining news story of the day each day, well, those optics really hurt the Democrats. If the election was simply just fought over no other issues, forget the wars, forget economics, forget COVID, forget all that stuff. Let's just say that the election was only about the protests and the riots, and it was about Black Lives Matter versus Blue Lives Matter. Who's going to win that? Well, the silent majority is the thing. Donald Trump is going to win that election, and he's going to win that, like Billy said, by a way bigger margin than he beat Hillary Clinton. He beat Hillary Clinton by about 70,000 votes in 3 states, in the swing states, right? In the Rust Belt. If the election's held over this crap, oh, Donald Trump's winning huge. Like, we're talking Donald Trump winning the popular vote at that point, essentially. If that was the only issue the election was fought over. And of course it won't. It won't. Of course it's not going to be fought over that primarily. But if this is like the big issue still, oh, the Republicans are going to kill it, man. Like, the Republicans are going to win huge. And the Democrats are going to be like, wait, what happened? How could this happen? Like, Don Lemon's going to cry on air. Trevor Noah's going to, like, do a segment, and it's just going to be 20 minutes of him, like, crying and, like, scratching at the walls and stuff and losing his mind and getting triggered. I mean, but he wasn't supposed to win. It's like, we called them all racist and stuff. They were supposed to, like, bow down and repent and atone for their white guilt, but instead they embraced their whiteness and voted for the orange man, Trump. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be like 2016, but bigger margin for Trump. That's what you're doing. Like, these optics don't play well. The only people that are hyped up on the riots are a fringe and cringe minority of aggressives out there that might not even vote for Biden anyway, because they think that Biden is too moderate, too establishment, too corporate. They may even vote for Trump. Jimmy Dore's voting for Trump. Kyle's going to vote for Trump. Why? Because they hate Biden. They're far left and they hate Biden and they want Biden to lose. So Trump's going to win huge. Oh man, Trump is going to win massively if this stuff goes on. It might not. It might just die down, and we'll have other issues that come up and this stuff loses its prominence. But I'm telling you, man, if the election is going on and these riots are still a thing within 2 months of the election or a month of the election, oh man, it's over. Trump's going to win huge. It's like there's not even really a debate to be had there. So yeah, they're pointing out in the chat that COVID's killed a lot of Trump supporters. Yeah, but Trump supporters aren't going to blame Trump for that. They're going to blame like the deep state or whatever. It's not going to be something that's a deal breaker for them with Trump, because they would say, well, if Biden was in charge, more people would have died. That's what they would say, because they'll defend Trump's handling of it. Like, I'm not a Trump fan. I'm just telling you the reality of the situation. That's how Trump voters will respond. They're not going to, like, after years of being with their guy Don, are they going to now say, oh, that was a bridge too far, Don didn't do a good job, so we're going to vote for Biden? Like, that's not going to happen. They're going to vote for Trump. Going to vote for Trump. And then just like last time, 14% or whatever, Democrats are going to vote for Trump because they're mad about Biden winning and their boy Bernie losing. It was a no good DNC rig. Bernie would have won if it wasn't for Biden. It's like, yeah, Biden was a better candidate. Anyway, we're going to wrap up this stream right now. Thank you for everybody for being here tonight. Definitely, if you want to support my channel and my work, you can check out my Patreon. The link is on the Chiron, and it will be in the description after this stream goes off air and I edit it in. Again, we had an interesting conversation tonight. I wasn't expecting it to go this long, but there's a lot to talk about, and we had a lot of cool people in the chat. Always good to come on here, talk with the Hawks. So have a good night, everybody. Be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.